I signed my name on the divorce agreement. At the same time, I received a call from the Public Security Bureau, MSCA. Your new household registration booklet and ID card are ready. When I got the documents, the young staff member in front of me hesitated and then said, "Excuse me, are you Miss Fu Huaixia?" Everyone in Lingjing knows that Jiang Shanian, a big shot in the capital circle, has a wife whom he loves deeply, and her name is Fu Huaixia. I smiled and shook my head, denying it. There is no Fu Huaixia in this world anymore. I am Xiaji. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. When I went for an eye re-examination in the hospital, Jiang Shanian's interview was being shown on the TV screen in the waiting room. Jiang Shanian, who is usually calm and self-possessed, only choked up when he mentioned me. Huaixia lost her eyesight while saving me in the fire. So she can no longer stand on her favorite stage. I have decided to spend the rest of my life doing my best to protect and cherish her. I see her, who could stand on tiptoe and spin before, now even having difficulties in daily life, and my heart aches as if it were being cut. I heard the envious voice of a young nurse. Mr. Jiang married Mrs. Jiang right after she graduated from university. Regardless of his family's opposition, after getting married, he showed his love for her very high-profilely. It seems that he wishes he could pick the stars in the sky for her. My expression froze slightly, and I clenched my hand tightly. In the whole of Lingjing, everyone knows that Jiang Shanian, the big shot in the capital circle, values his wife more than his own life. After my parents divorced when I was in high school, I was kicked out of the house by my stepmother. I unconsciously fainted in the ice and snow. It was Jiang Shanian who saved me and took me in until now. He provided for my food, clothing, education, and even supported me to learn ballet. I lost my eyesight while saving him in the fire. Jiang Shanian never left me. As soon as I graduated, he married me despite his family's opposition. In the cold December, he wore a thin shirt and knelt in the ice and snow all night long, just to make his family accept me. The Jiang family finally compromised. He was lying in the hospital bed with a high fever, still tightly clutching that proposal ring in his hand. Jiang Shanian knew that because of my broken family, I had always been afraid to truly invest in a relationship. After all, I witnessed with my own eyes the broken state of my mother when my father brought his mistress home. On the wedding day, Jiang Shanian knelt down on one knee with a pious expression. "Huaixia, I promise you that I will spend my whole life loving and cherishing you. There will never be betrayal or lies between us. I will be loyal to you for the rest of my life." Jiang Shanian kept his promise. In the 5 years after we got married, he took meticulous care of me and showed great concern for me. But it so happened that on the day my eyesight recovered, I caught him being affectionate with my stepsister at home. Only then did I know that every time my stepsister Fu Yuanyuan came to visit me, it was an excuse for her to have an intimate entanglement with my husband, and every time Jiang Shanian thoughtfully and proactively went to the hospital to get my medicine for me. In fact, it was all to have more time alone with Fu Yuanyuan. I hid the fact that my eyesight had recovered and pretended not to see the two of them kissing brazenly in front of me. My vision was still blurred. I broke a cup and cut my palm on the glass. Jiang Shanian nervously picked me up. At that moment, the pain in my heart was far greater than the bleeding wound. I didn't expose their affair and continued to pretend I couldn't see, and I made preparations secretly, all for the day when I could leave Jiang Shanian. After coming out of the hospital, there was a reply email in my mailbox. "Miss Xiaji, we have watched your performance video. Although you have been away from the stage for a long time, we are confident that we can create a brilliant stage together with you. We are waiting for you in Paris, Zephyr." I had already applied in advance for a training quota at a French dance troupe. Now the other party responded, saying that they welcomed my joining. In fact, before I lost my eyesight, the dance troupe had contacted me. At that time, I was dancing gracefully on the ballet stage and was the most dazzling star. But at that time, I never thought of leaving Jiang Shanian and refused decisively. And now, it was Jiang Shanian who forced me to make a choice. Thank you. I will arrive in Paris in a week. See you then. I took off the ring on my ring finger and felt that all the shackles on me had been broken free. I didn't want any quarrels, entanglements, or kneeling to admit mistakes. I wanted to disappear completely from Jiang Xunyan's world. Even though his power could cover the sky in Lingjing, he should also taste the feeling of being powerless. I wanted him to spend the rest of his life in regret. I put on my sunglasses and put the ring away carefully in my bag. 7 days later, there was no longer a Fu Huaixia in this world. As soon as I got home, Jiang Shanian greeted me worriedly. Huaixia, where have you been? Why didn't you answer the phone? He frowned tightly and thoughtfully took the bag I was holding in my hand. I noticed that he was wearing a different set of clothes from the morning, and the smell of laundry detergent on him was not the one we used at home. I forced a smile and handed him the forged diagnosis certificate. I went for an eye re-examination. The doctor said the situation is still not very good. Jiang Shanian helped me to the sofa and carefully handed me a warm cup of water. Sister, why did you run out by yourself? Do you know how worried Brother Shanian was about you? Fu Yuan came out of the bedroom that Jiang Shanian and I shared. Wearing my lace nightgown, there were dense and ambiguous red marks all over her fair neck. Her charming eyes were like hooks, landing on Jiang Shanian beside me. I pretended not to see and used my ears to distinguish the sounds. When did Yuan come? But I secretly clenched the cup wall, my heart aching at this scene. Mom asked me to bring you some tonics, saying they are good for your eyes. Sister, you should recover your eyesight quickly. This year, the Lingjing Dance Association gave me the lead dancer position. This used to be your title. Fu Yuan's eyes were soft, and her smile was bright, but the words she said were like a sharp blade, stabbing straight into my chest. I didn't say anything, lost in thought. I knew Fu Yuan's strength well. She couldn't afford to be the lead dancer no matter what, and this year, her resources had been getting better and better. I couldn't help but wonder if Jiang Shanian was behind it, pushing things forward. Well, I have some business to deal with at the company and need to leave now. Jiang Shanian put the vitamins beside me and thoughtfully prepared some fruits. Huaixia, you have a good rest at home. I'll come back early today to accompany you. After saying that, my meticulous husband winked at my stepsister. She immediately understood. Sister, the dance troupe also needs to rehearse the program today, so I'm leaving too. I bid them a gentle farewell and watched with my own eyes as Fu Yuan leaned against Jiang Xunyan's arms, calculating the time. I went to the balcony and looked down. It happened to be the place where Jiang Shanian parked his car. As soon as the two of them left the building, they couldn't wait to kiss each other. Then Jiang Shanian picked her up horizontally, laid her flat on the back seat of the car, and then bent over. I took a few photos and sent them to Lawyer Zhang. They didn't even close the car door, and the car body was shaking slightly. I desperately suppressed my breathing. The dull pain in my heart turned into a sharp knife churning, making me almost unable to breathe from the pain. I had known Jiang Shanian for 10 years and been married to him for 5 years. I had no doubt that he was the partner I would spend my life with, the man who had promised to love me for a lifetime. Let that promise fade away in just 5 years. I wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes and turned to walk into Jiang Xunyan's study. I easily entered the password of his safe. There were several contracts inside, all the top ballet resources, including the lead dancer position that the Dance Association promised to reserve for me, were all given by Jiang Shanian as gifts to Fu Yuan with his own hands. Perhaps because I was blind, he thought I could never stand on the stage again, but the contract at the bottom was signed 2 years ago. At that time, I hadn't lost my eyesight yet and was still active on the ballet stage. For the La Bayadere performance that I cared about the most, I was removed from the lead role the day before the performance and replaced by Fu Yuan. The team leader told me that Fu Yuan was more suitable for the role. Looking at my body full of injuries from practice, I cried all night. In the end, I sat in the audience and blessed my sister with applause. And Jiang Xunyan's eyes also turned red when he saw my desperate appearance. Huaixia, it's okay. There will be more opportunities in the future. His mask was too real, making me fall into a phantom and unable to see clearly. It turned out that the person who stabbed me in the back had always been the person I trusted and relied on the most by my side. It turned out that they had been involved with each other since then. I originally thought that I would cry hysterically at this moment. But it was only when I saw it with my own eyes that I understood that the silent despair was the complete death of my heart. Huaixia, today is our 5th wedding anniversary. Jiang Shenian held a bouquet of flowers in one hand and a luxury goods bag in the other. He took out the pearl necklace inside and put it on me with his own hands. This pearl necklace really suits you. I specially asked a friend to design this high-end custom piece. I finally managed to get it in time for our anniversary. I groped and touched my neck, smiling at him. The divorce agreement with my signature was placed in an exquisite gift box. I held it and handed it to him. Shenian, this is the gift I prepared for you. Jiang Shenian's expression immediately turned ecstatic, and his right hand urgently reached out to pull the ribbon. You can open it in a week. It's a surprise. I stopped his movement, still maintaining a calm expression. Okay, I'll listen to you, Huaixia. Jiang Shenian put the gift box in the display cabinet in the living room and then came over to hold my hand. I reserved a table at Jimaxian. We'll go there to celebrate today. We spent every anniversary there. Jiang Shenian said that the location of Jimaxian was the best. Sitting by the window, we could see the night view of the whole Lingjing. He would also prepare grand fireworks and set them off punctually at 8 o'clock in the evening, even though I couldn't see them. By listening to the sounds, I could still piece together the fleeting beauty of the black sky. According to my memory, I was taken to the passenger seat by Jiang Shenian, and he went to the trunk to find a blanket for me. I immediately saw a thin piece of paper stuffed in the storage compartment of the car door. It was Fu Yuanyuan's pregnancy test report. She was pregnant, and it was Jiang Shenian's child. After I lost my eyesight, we rarely had an intimate relationship. Every time he kissed my eyes, I would awkwardly push him away. Jiang Shenian wasn't angry. He just hugged me in his arms, panting, and gently kissed my forehead. Huaixia, don't be afraid. I'll always be by your side. And the physical satisfaction that he couldn't get from me, he vented it all on Fu Yuanyuan. My breath caught in my throat, and I put the pregnancy test slip back in place. The car's in-car screen was connected to Jiang Shenian's mobile phone via Bluetooth, and there were red notifications popping up on WeChat. I turned my head and found that his hands were empty, and he was standing behind the car, sending messages with his head down. I opened the WeChat page, and what caught my eye was the chat box with Fu Yuanyuan. I want to go with you guys too. Stop making trouble. Today is my anniversary with Huaixia. Just stay at home honestly. I'll come to you after dinner. I went last time too. I just sat at the next table. Sister won't notice. No wonder Jiang Shenian always found excuses to leave the table during last year's anniversary. Jiang Shenian was silent for a few seconds and finally compromised. Okay, we'll go first. You can take a taxi here. I smiled silently and closed the screen. It took Jiang Shenian 10 minutes to get a blanket. What held him back was the heart that wasn't with me. The meal was tasteless. Jiang Shenian verbally comforted me. But he also kept looking for Fu Yuanyuan, who was sitting at the next table from time to time. When it was 8 o'clock, the fireworks were set off on time. Fu Yuanyuan carefully leaned against the window. I turned my head and stared closely at the night sky outside, clenching my fists tightly to prevent myself from showing any flaw. The fireworks were like gorgeous stars, blooming with the most brilliant colors in the night sky and illuminating everything in the darkness. But my pupils suddenly shrank, and the pain in my heart became so intense that it went numb. I didn't know when the fireworks were no longer the abbreviation of my name. Instead, there was a pattern of YY. Out of the corner of my eye, Fu Yuanyuan happily threw herself into Jiang Shenian's arms, and the two of them couldn't help but kiss each other. My vision was already blurred in my chaotic consciousness. I remembered the first anniversary after we got married. Jiang Shenian wrapped his arms around my waist from behind. And we were standing in this very position now. He gently rested his head on my shoulder, and his eyes were filled with tenderness. Every anniversary from now on, I will set off the grandest fireworks that belong only to you. I want the whole world to know that the person I, Jiang Shanian, love the most in my life is only you, Fu Weixia. All the things that happened in these 10 years were like a dream. I lived in the illusion of love that Jiang Shanian wove for me. But now that the dream had woken up, it was time for me to leave. The new ID card and passport had already been processed, and tomorrow would be the time to depart for Paris. In the morning, I calmly sat in the dining room having breakfast and prepared a portion for Jiang Shanian. By the way, Huaixia, why did you get up so early? Jiang Shanian came out of the bedroom and saw the food prepared on the dining table. He was only stunned for a moment, and then rushed over to hold my hands. There were slight wounds due to unskilled knife work on my hands, as well as burn marks from the hot oil splashing out. You can't see. How could you cook by yourself? Sister Lu will be here soon. You've got so many injuries. Does it hurt? Jiang Shanian didn't dare to hold my hands too tightly. His eyelashes drooped, and a few tears fell on the back of my hand. When he raised his eyes again, his eyes were already red. His acting skills were so excellent, if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. How could I have believed that the man who loved me as his life would cheat on me? I'm fine. I just thought that I haven't cooked for a long time. Sister Lu had already received my notice to come in the evening. I guessed that by then, I would have already left Lingjing. I tried to pull my hand back, but he took me to the living room to apply medicine. My wife has such beautiful hands. We mustn't let them get scarred. I stared at the top of Jiang Shanian's head as he was being serious. For a moment, I really wanted to ask him impulsively why he did it. Fortunately, I held back in the end. While he was looking for a band-aid, I saw the text message sent by Fu Yuanyuan on his phone. Yunjing Hotel, room 1012. Below was a photo of her wearing a sexy maid's outfit, which was extremely alluring. When Jiang Shanian came back, I pretended not to care. Shanian, your phone rang just now. I picked it up and touched it. I don't know if I clicked on anything. What came into his view was Fu Yuanyuan's bold and explicit photo. Jiang Shanian quickly picked up his phone, and his body froze for a moment. He stared carefully into my empty and expressionless eyes, and then he felt relieved. I pretended to be calm on the surface, but my hands couldn't help shaking. The hospital sent me a message. I'm going to pick up your newly prescribed medicine for you. Wait for me at home. I'll come back early today to accompany you. Jiang Shanian gently stroked the top of my head. It was really difficult for them. In order not to reveal any clues, they had to make an appointment at the hotel early in the morning. Jiang Shanian, goodbye. He felt something strange about my unusual words, but he just looked back at me for a moment and then smiled and replied to me, Huaixia, wait for me to come home. The door was locked, and I let out a sigh of relief. Wait for him. I would never do that again from now on. I simply packed my luggage, bundled up all the things related to me at home, and contacted the junkyard to take them away. Sitting in the taxi heading to the airport, I received a message from Fu Yuanyuan. I knew that since she was pregnant, she naturally wouldn't be willing to be a mistress anymore. Fu Yuanyuan sent a lot of intimate photos and chat records of the two of them, including the examination results of her pregnancy. I swiped through the messy pictures one by one. There was a sour feeling in my chest, but it didn't hurt as much until I saw the chat records between the two of them a month after I lost my eyesight. Jiang Shanian couldn't wait to transfer my resources to Fu Yuanyuan, and that day was the first day they broke the taboo. My beloved husband, soon after I lost my eyesight while saving him, got together with my stepsister. Remember to open the gift when you get home. After sending the last text message to Jiang Shanian, I took out the SIM card and threw it into the trash can. The boarding announcement sounded. I looked back at the sign of Lingjing for the last time. From now on, there will be no Fu Weixia in the world. I am Xiaoji. Jiang Shanian lowered his eyes and looked at the text message sent by Fu Weixia. He replied several messages in a row, telling her to go to bed early and that he would go back tomorrow. There was no response from the other side. Jiang Shenian guessed that she had fallen asleep. After losing her eyesight, Fu Weixia had been depressed and in a bad mood, and her health had not been very good. Her daily routine was very regular. Fu Yuanyuan informed him of her pregnancy. He was both surprised and delighted. He was delighted because in Jiang Shunian's heart, he had always wanted a child. He was surprised because he had never expected that it was Fu Yuanyuan who was pregnant. Indeed, under Fu Yuanyuan's seduction several times, they had been more intimate a few times, however. In his heart, only Fu Weixia was the one who should give birth to his child. Fu Yuanyuan was just a distraction for him. The position of Mrs. Jiang would never change. Jiang Shenian stood by the window smoking a cigarette, and his expression was not particularly happy. What if Weixia found out? Suddenly, his eyebrows twitched, and then he thought of Fu Weixia's still gentle and obedient appearance. No, he wouldn't let her know. Shenian, what do you think about this child? Fu Yuanyuan was a bit uneasy about his reaction. She thought he would be very excited. That blind sister not only had poor health, but also often resisted their intimate actions. Fu Yuanyuan knew this, so she tried even harder to seduce Jiang Shenian, hoping that one day she could take the position of Mrs. Jiang by relying on the child. But obviously, Jiang Shenian didn't have that intention for now. His face darkened, and his tone was cold. You should have a good rest first and stop dancing. Let's talk about the child after it's born. He was calculating in his mind what excuse he could find at that time, such as saying it was an adopted child. Anyway, Fu Weixia couldn't see, and she didn't know that Fu Yuanyuan was pregnant at this time. I'm going home now. We'd better not see each other for a while. Why? Fu Yuanyuan was wronged and was about to cry with her lips bitten. I also need to take care of Weixia. Don't I? I've been with you for many days already. Jiang Shenian prevaricated and extinguished the cigarette. But I'll come to see you in a few days. Be good. Fu Yuanyuan didn't dare to stop him anymore, but she was full of resentment towards that sister. When would that sickly sister obediently give up the position of Mrs. Jiang? She flipped through the chat box between them. Fu Weixia hadn't replied to anything. The car drove home quickly. Jiang Shenian looked at the dark balcony and thought that Fu Weixia had already fallen asleep. The maid, Sister Lu, turned on a light and came out to greet him. Jiang Shenian handed her his coat and casually asked, "Has Madame already gone to bed?" Sister Lu was surprised and replied incoherently, "No, sir. Madame sent me a message this morning asking me to come in the evening. When I came, there was no one at home. I thought you and Madame had other arrangements." With each word he heard, Jiang Shunian's eyes became darker. "Did she tell you anything else?" "No, sir." Sister Lu's face turned pale, afraid of making the man in front of her unhappy. "Okay, you can go now." Jiang Shenian dialed Fu Weixia's phone number, gripped the phone tightly, and his face became even more gloomy. He waited for a few seconds, but all he got was the mechanical prompt that the phone was turned off. As he walked quickly upstairs, he called his assistant, "Xiaoyu, check all of Fu Weixia's call records for me right now. Check her ID and see if there are any entry and exit records." Jiang Shunian's voice was unprecedentedly calm, but the hostility around him was getting stronger and stronger. There weren't many places Fu Weixia could go. After all, she couldn't see. Where could she run to? Thinking of this, an impossible thought gradually emerged in his mind. Check the hospital's diagnosis records as well. I want all the results of her recent re-examinations. Hurry up. For the recent re-examinations, Fu Weixia had gone by herself. He had only seen the test reports she brought back. He had always thought that she couldn't see, so he had been flirting and being intimate with Fu Yuanyuan without scruples. But what if she had regained her eyesight? Jiang Shenian felt a splitting headache and forcefully pushed open the bedroom door. It was pitch black inside, and the bed was clean and tidy. He tremblingly turned on the light and found that the photo of the two of them on the bedside table was gone. He became more and more flustered and rushed into all the rooms to check one by one. All of Fu Weixia's clothes were gone, her toiletries were gone, and even the wedding photo of the two of them hanging in the living room was gone. He rushed into the study and found that the safe had been slightly moved. He numbly entered Fu Huaxia's birthday, and indeed, the contracts inside had all been rearranged. For a moment, he felt as if his blood had solidified. Fu Huaxia might have known everything. Jiang Shunyan opened the chat box with Fu Huaxia and saw the gift she mentioned. That's right, there was also the anniversary gift. Jiang Shunyan punched and broke the locked display cabinet, even though his hand was bleeding. He didn't seem to feel the pain. He opened the exquisitely wrapped gift box, and there was only a piece of paper inside. He didn't dare to look, but he had to. On it were the big words, divorce agreement. On the last page, she had already signed her name. Jiang Shunyan looked at her delicate handwriting and felt a sharp pain in his heart. Suddenly, he remembered that she hadn't been wearing the ring for several days already. There was also a sticky note attached to it, with the phone number of Fu Huaxia's lawyer. This is the phone number of my lawyer. He will contact you regarding the relevant matters of the divorce. At the same time, Xiaoyu called back. Mr. Jiang, a few hours ago, Miss Fu Yuanyuan sent some photos and chat records to Madam. He received the files sent by Xiaoyu. As soon as he opened them, there were all the evidence of their affair that was too embarrassing to look at. Jiang Shunyan felt his eyes go dark and almost fainted. Jiang Shunyan drove all the way and came to Fu Yuanyuan's place. Fu Yuanyuan opened the door sleepily. The moment she saw who it was, all her drowsiness disappeared. She happily threw herself into his arms and acted coquettishly as usual. Shunyan, why did you come back a guy? Before she could finish her words, Jiang Shunyan slapped her. Fu Yuanyuan felt the pain from the slap and was suddenly dizzy. When she turned her head back, she saw Jiang Shunyan with his eyes wide open in anger. What's wrong with you? She was a bit dizzy and didn't know why he seemed like a different person in just a few hours. Jiang Shunyan pinched her chin, and she was forced to look up and meet his gaze. Fu Yuanyuan, I told you not to let Huaixia know about us, right? His face darkened, and it seemed that a storm was coming. Fu Yuanyuan's face changed. She wondered if Fu Huaixia couldn't see and asked Jiang Shunyan to read the text messages to her. But how did Fu Huaixia find out? Seeing Fu Yuanyuan deep in thought, he became even more furious. Jiang Shunyan raised his hand and slapped her several more times without mercy. The girl's delicate face instantly swelled up, and blood oozed from the corner of her mouth. Without the support of Jiang Shunyan's strength, she couldn't stand steadily and fell heavily to the ground. Fu Yuanyuan covered her stomach in pain, and big beads of sweat rolled down from her forehead. Shunyan, sister can't see. How could she have found out? I'm carrying our child in my stomach. Don't hit me anymore. She bent over and made a gesture of begging for mercy. Jiang Shunyan looked down at her coldly and sneered. Huaixia might have been able to see for a long time. The next moment, her wrist was grabbed by the man. He threw her against the wall, and the force was not light. Suddenly, there was blood under Fu Yuanyuan, ignoring the pain in her body. She knelt on the ground with a pale face and prostrated herself at his feet. I was wrong. I was ungrateful and let sister know. Please spare me for the sake of the child. I won't dare to do it again. Blood mixed with tears flowed down her face, and Fu Yuanyuan cowed out heavily, but Jiang Shunyan didn't show any mercy. There was a storm brewing in his eyes as he stared at the person in front of him, as if looking at a piece of trash. I only favored you for Huaxia's sake. Letting you give birth to the child was just because I didn't want her to suffer anymore. I didn't expect you to be so confused and still try to replace her position. From now on, the ballet troupe won't use you anymore, and you don't need to give birth to the child either. He watched coldly as Fu Yuanyuan groaned in pain. She couldn't stop screaming, but she still kept trying to fight for a chance for herself. Shunyan, I can stop dancing, but please spare our child. It's also half your flesh and blood. The thing born of trash doesn't deserve to be my child. Jiang Shunyan lifted his eyelids slightly, and his tone was calm. I'll find someone to take you to the hospital. It's best if the child is gone. If it's still there, I'll arrange for you to have an abortion. Xiaoyu's name flashed on the screen. He couldn't wait to rush into the bathroom and answer the phone. Mr. Jiang, madam, her eyesight recovered 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. It was actually 2 weeks ago that she regained her eyesight. Jiang Xunyan's breath caught in his throat, and his heart skipped a beat. So she had been able to see for a long time. She had seen their absurdity in front of her, seen the resources he gave to Fu Yuanyuan, and seen the fireworks he set off for Fu Yuanyuan. He slowly released his hand. The flesh around the wound had turned up, looking ferocious and terrifying. Fu Weixia had known about his betrayal, yet she had disguised so well that she didn't even show a bit of anger or sadness. How heartbroken she must have been in her heart, and how disappointed she must have been in him. Jiang Shenian had never hated himself as much as he did at that moment. Overwhelming remorse seemed to sweep over him. He didn't dare to think about how, from Fu Weixia's perspective, it was like being tortured by an executioner. Jiang Shenian choked up a bit, and his eyes turned red, hearing the commotion on the side. Xiaoyu continued nervously, "I've checked all of Madam's ID records," the Public Security Bureau said. "Madam should have changed her name. There is no information about the name Fu Weixia here anymore. As soon as I landed in Paris, the person in charge of the dance troupe warmly greeted me." Zephyr gathered ballet dancers from all over the world. Everyone shared the same dream and strived together. At first, due to the time difference and my broken heart, it was difficult for me to adapt. I had trouble falling asleep. After taking melatonin, I finally managed to fall asleep, but I often dreamed of various things with Jiang Shenian throughout the night. When I woke up in a start in the middle of the night, my face was always covered in tears. Later, I simply stopped sleeping. I went to the dance studio alone at night to practice. When I was tired and sleepy, I just lay down on the sofa in the studio to rest. Fortunately, the members of the dance studio were all friendly and enthusiastic. They often helped me when my movements were not proficient, which helped me get through a difficult period. I gradually adapted to the life of high-intensity practice and performances, and I became even more energetic. Those wounds that I once thought were heartbreaking were gradually healing under the comfort of time. I got a new phone number, and the only person who could contact me was Lawyer Zhang, who was in charge of my divorce case. 2 weeks after arriving in Paris, Lawyer Zhang called me. "Miss Xia, Mr. Jiang said he wants to talk to you in person." "No need." The sun was shining brightly, and the breeze caressed my hair. I tapped the scattered hair behind my ears and was still thinking about the newly learned dance moves in my mind. "Tell me when he signs the divorce agreement. I'll come back to go through the formalities then." Lawyer Zhang was a bit embarrassed, but he insists on seeing you before he's willing to agree to the divorce. "It's okay, let's just drag it out like this." I smiled and didn't care. The Jiang family won't allow the family line to end. They have a big family business, and there's only Jiang Shenian as the son of this generation. If he doesn't sign the agreement, I won't let him find me, and I'm not afraid of going to court either. We have evidence of his infidelity. Hearing this, Lawyer Zhang felt relieved. "I'll convey your message," he sincerely exclaimed. "Miss Xia, compared to when we first met, you've really changed a lot. Now you're confident and free and easy. You're truly living for yourself. Thank you." After hanging up the phone, I rubbed my hands. I felt that it was getting colder in Paris. After the practice, another Chinese girl in the dance troupe invited me to have dinner together. We sat in a Chinese restaurant and ordered our favorite dishes. "Xia. Your movements are really beautiful. Your dancing posture is standard, and yet it has your own unique charm. Which dance troupe did you perform with before?" Mian picked up a chopstick of food and put it in my bowl. Her expression was cheerful and sunny. "I was in Lingjing before." Mian was curious. "Then why did you have a few years of hiatus? I think you really love ballet." My movements paused for a moment, and then I smiled relievedly and replied, "I escaped from a fire 2 years ago, but I lost my eyesight. I just regained my eyesight a few months ago." There was no embarrassed expression on Mian's face. Instead, she smiled happily. "Then what do you call this now?" "It's like seeing the bright moon after the clouds have cleared." I was infected by her positive attitude, and a warmth welled up in my heart. Even though I had experienced betrayal and deception in my relationship, I was able to regain my eyesight, resolutely stay away from lies, and do the things I loved again. Wasn't this a kind of luck? My nose felt sour. I picked up my drink and clinked glasses with Mian Mian. You're right. Now I feel like I've been reborn. After getting a reply from lawyer Zhang, Jiang Shanian leaned against the sofa in despair. There was no room for redemption. He knew in his heart that Fu Huaixiao was determined to stay away from him. He drank glass after glass of wine, and his friends beside him couldn't persuade him to stop. He tried to numb his aching heart with alcohol, but his mind kept recalling the beautiful past. Jiang Shanian suddenly remembered their wedding day. He knelt down on one knee, filled with the joy of finally fully possessing Fu Huixia. At that time, he had never thought that he would cheat. He had made a solemn vow with sincere and passionate feelings. Betrayal and deception were all things he had never considered. When did he forget his original intention? At first, he was truly touched. He never expected that someone would be willing to risk their life to save him from the fire. He also felt sorry for Fu Huixia and wished he could take her place and lose his eyesight instead. However, over time, the dull and uneventful life became tasteless. He began to be attracted to the passionate Fu Yuanyuan. There were even times when he lost his head and gave all the good resources to her. But it was only when Fu Huixia really left him that Jiang Shanian had a complete realization. He couldn't live without Fu Huixia, but now, he had really lost her. Thinking of this, Jiang Shanian covered his face in pain, and tears flowed out between his fingers. His friends looked at each other in surprise. They really didn't expect things to turn out like this. Fu Huixia's stepsister, Fu Yuanyuan, had also been tortured by him to the point of being a mess. Not only was the child forced to have an abortion, but she also rolled down the stairs in a trance that day. Not to mention continuing to dance, it was even a question of whether she could stand up again. The Jiang family was also urging Jiang Shanian to get a divorce as soon as possible. While the matter hadn't escalated yet, they could arrange a marriage alliance. The Jiang family's bloodline couldn't be broken, and the Jiang family's property needed someone to inherit it. 3 more days passed. Fu Yuanyuan exposed Jiang Shanian's actions on the internet, insisting on fighting him to the bitter end. She put all the relevant evidence in the post and actively admitted to being the mistress. But all the overstepping and entanglement between the two of them were accepted and even actively catered to by Jiang Shanian. Fu Yuanyuan also posted a photo of her abortion certificate and got an injury appraisal done at the hospital. The big shot in the capital circle, who was said to love his wife as his life, not only had an affair with his wife's stepsister, but also resorted to violence and treated human life casually. For a while, it caused a huge stir on the internet, and the Jiang family's stock price plummeted. Jiang Shanian's father was so angry that he whipped him with a belt a few times. The skin on his back was torn open, but he refused to bow his head with a pale face. In the end, it was his grandfather, who was bedridden, who spoke up. Shanian, you've made a terrible mistake. You begged for the chance to marry Huixia, but you didn't know how to cherish it. Now you're still stubborn and won't get a divorce. You're dragging her down and hurting her again. Sign the divorce agreement immediately now. Handle the company's affairs well, and stop being so reckless. Jiang Shanian's straight back bent down, and he finally lowered his head. He called lawyer Zhang. Please tell Huixia that I'm willing to get a divorce. After receiving the news, I arranged my time and flew back from France. After the divorce formalities were completed, Jiang Shanian and I walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau together. In just half a year, Jiang Shanian had changed a lot. It was already early winter, but he was only wearing a woolen coat. I recognized that it was the wedding gift I bought for him, and the once noble and proud man was now haggard. His originally strong face had become thin, and his eyes were bloodshot. Even his once straight back was now hunched over. Jiang Shanian called out to me, and his voice was indescribably hoarse. Huixia, how are you doing? I smiled silently and shook the divorce certificate in my hand. My name is Xiaji. There is no Fu Huixia in the world anymore. Okay, Xiaji. His expression became lonely for a moment, and then a glimmer of hope emerged again. Will you stay in Lingjing? Maybe we can still be friends, and occasionally you'll allow me to visit you. I won't stay here, I replied to him in a cold voice, with a calm expression, and we won't see each other again. I was just about to walk around him when Jiang Shenian grabbed my arm. I know I was wrong, Xiaoji. I know I made a terrible mistake. I betrayed our promise and let down your trust. Even my life was saved thanks to you. The Jiang family finally compromised. He was lying in the hospital bed with a high fever, still tightly clutching that proposal ring in his hand. Can you give me another chance? I will never deceive you again. I'll take good care of you. We'll have a lovely child. If you still have misgivings in your heart, we can get to know each other again. Let me court you again. Stop dreaming, Jiang Shenian. I interrupted him heartlessly, completely annihilating his last hope, just as he had treated me cruelly before. There's no possibility for us to continue. I will gradually forget you and start my brand new life. The cold wind was biting, and the chill of winter was overwhelming. Looking at the slender back walking away, Jiang Shenian only felt a dull pain sweeping over his heart. It was he himself who had cut off all the love with his own hands. Everything was settled. I rushed back to Paris to participate in the first performance of the dance troupe. The play I participated in was La Bayadere, which I had been longing for but once missed. I stretched out my arms, stood on tiptoe, and danced. I immersed myself in the music, and my movements were smooth and light. After the performance, the applause from the audience was deafening. I was pushed out by everyone to give a curtain call speech, holding the microphone. The dazzling lights on the stage focused only on me. It all seemed like a dream. I was standing on the ballet stage that I loved again, but everything around me was real. This reality made me feel so dazed that I couldn't help but shed tears. My eyes were warm, and I raised a confident and bright smile. Thank you to the members of the dance troupe, thank you to ballet, and thank you to myself for having the courage to start over. I've gotten rid of a life that bound me. Now I'm living towards the sun, just to shine my own light. I've forgiven all the hardships that fate once brought me. When the aftertaste is bitter, there will surely be a sweet return. I am Xiaoji. From now on, I will live only for myself.